This week we're taking a look at a man who's described as having no mother and no father, or actually no father and no mother. We're talking about Melchizedek, who's a figure from the book of Genesis who has an interaction with Abraham. And Melchizedek blesses Abraham, and Abraham pays tithes to Melchizedek, and we're told that he functions in the role of priest of the Most High God. He is the first priest mentioned in the Bible all the way back in Genesis. He is an interesting figure who's referenced in Hebrews chapter 7 as a type in helping us understand some things about Christ and his priestly role. And that's what we're going to look at today. Let's jump in with Hebrews chapter 7 verses 1 and 2 from the ESV. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. And to him Abraham apportioned a tenth part of everything. He is first, by translation of his name, king of righteousness. Melchi is king of, and Tzedek is righteousness in Hebrew. And then he is also king of Salem, that is king of peace. So Salem, shalom, peace, again from Hebrew. So Melchizedek is a king who is also a priest. Before we go on, what do we know about priesthood in Judaism? Specifically in Old Testament understanding about priesthood. First thing that we know is that it is both Aaronic and Levitical. So the priests are the descendants of Aaron, the brother of Moses. The sacrifice offering priesthood, the interceders between the people and God are the offspring of Aaron. In the broader context, the priesthood is Levitical. The responsibility for the sanctuary and later the temple and all of the different activities that take place there, the maintenance, the moving of it, the care for the utensils and instruments, the administration, all of these things are part of the tribe of Levi's duties, the tribe from which Aaron and Moses and Miriam come from. So the priesthood is Aaronic and Levitical, but Melchizedek, the story of Melchizedek with Abraham, happens hundreds of years before the Exodus. So Melchizedek is not a member of the tribe of Levi, no less a child or descendant of Aaron. So his priesthood is not Aaronic nor Levitical. He is outside that priestly realm. So now we're going to get some commentary about this priest who is not part of the Aaronic Levitical priesthood. This is in verse 3 from Hebrews chapter 7. He is without father or mother or genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but resembling the Son of God, he continues a priest forever. So on first glance, if you only looked at this superficially, you may say, is this like a supernatural kind of a guy? Is this someone that God plunked down on earth? He doesn't have a father, he doesn't have a mother, he has no beginning of days or end of life. Well, that's a great question, and let's take a look at it and pick it apart and see where we land on all of that. Because the other possibility is that this is a description of the documentary record that we possess concerning Melchizedek. So let's go on and take a look. We'll look at it in three different chunks. The first up says, apator, amator, agenealogatos. So here we have three adjectives. Apator, fatherless, no father, without father. Amator, motherless, without mother. And then agenealogetos, without genealogy. So again, we can take that in one of two ways. this is a man who didn't have a father or who didn't have a mother or who didn't have a family tree. Or we could look at this and say, of this man about whom the only thing that is written is this brief interaction with the patriarch Abraham, we don't know the name of his father. We don't know the name of his mother. We have no sense of his genealogy, his family tree. In the Bible, the genealogies are virtually never exhaustive. They hit the highlights of noteworthy persons so that you know something about this person's descent and you know that they are connected by blood and genealogy to important players in the history. But that's not the case with Melchizedek. Not only do we not know his father's name or his mother's name, we have no idea who any of his ancestors were. So we can't place him historically in the narrative apart from this brief interaction with Abraham. Now, grammatically, let's look at these three adjectives together again and notice that there is no conjunction between them. These are not three separate issues. These are things that are related, pardon the related pun, having to do with what we know about Melchizedek. We don't know who his father is, his mother, or anyone in his family tree. And I put an or in there where the writer of Hebrews did not. Apator, ametor, ageniologetos, all of the three together should be taken kind of as a whole. What do we not have? We do not have a record of his father, mother, or family tree. We don't know where this guy comes from. Therefore, because we can't trace his family tree, we don't know how to connect him to the people of faith, to Abraham, to being a priest. We don't know how to connect him to anything. In fact, we can't connect him to anything. So we do know from the statement in Genesis and in Hebrews that he is in fact functioning as a priest of the Most High God, but it's outside that Aaronic Levitical priesthood. He's not related. We don't know to whom he's related. We know almost nothing about the guy. Let's move on and look at the next part of verse 3. Mete, archane, hemeron, mete, zoes, telos, ekon. Notice the mete. When you get the two metes, you're getting neither nor. So in English, when we're talking about two things in the negative, we may neither nor them. Mete is neither nor in Koine. Now, we go to the end of the sentence here, the end of this clause, and we get our verb, ekon, having, from echo. This is a present active participle, continual action, having. Having neither what? Archane hemeron, beginning of days. Archane is beginning, hemeron is days. Having neither beginning of days, mete, nor zoes telos, zoes life, telos end of life. So what else don't we know about Melchizedek? We don't know his father, we don't know his mother, we don't know his genealogy, nor do we know his beginning of days when he was born, nor his end of life when he died. So a bigger part of the picture, not only do we not know his family of origin, his family tree, his relatives, we don't know when he was born or when he died. So he is an enigma in that sense. Does that mean that he wasn't born or that he didn't die? I think that would be a tough row to hoe to make that claim. What we don't know is where he fits in the timeline. This is not a guy that we can say, well, he was born during the reign of King so-and-so. He was born during the 14th year of the reign of his father X. We don't know his father. We don't know his mother. We don't know when he was born. We don't know his genealogy. We don't know when he died. What do we know? We know he's a priest of the Most High God. We know that by translation his name means King of Righteousness. We know that by virtue of his location he's also King of Peace. We know that he blessed Abraham and that Abraham paid tithes to him. And that is pretty much all we know. So let us carry on and look at the last part. This word's a little tricky to pronounce, so if I butcher it, I apologize in advance. Aphomoi omenos, that wasn't as bad as I made it sound, de tohuio to theou mene hierus eis to dienekes. So aphomoi omenos is a present participle, and it's a contraction of apo, from, and homeo, likeness, similarity. This is talking about bearing a similarity to someone else. In this case, to whom? Tohuio to theou, the Son of God. So Melchizedek, who we know almost nothing about, we're told, has a similarity, a resemblance, a likeness to the Son of God. In what regard? Mene hierus eis to dienekes. Inasmuch as he remains a priest, so mene is third person singular of meno, he remains, hierus, a priest, eis to dienekes, unto forever, forever. So the two of them, the Son of God and Melchizedek, are similar in what regard? In the regard that their priesthood is eternal. They both remain priests forever. So how is that the case? Well, let's talk about some ways that the two of them are similar. Jesus serves as a priest offering the blood of his own sacrifice in the tabernacle, if we read the book of Hebrews and the book of Revelation and some other allusions in some of the letters. But Jesus is also not Levitical or a child of Aaron. His priesthood, like Melchizedek's, is outside the Aaronic Levitical order. The two of them both serve in a priesthood of one. We're not told that Melchizedek has any co-priests. We're not told that Jesus has any co-priests. His priesthood of his sacrifice is by himself before the throne. But also what we have here is they're outside of time. Jesus is the lamb slain before the foundations of the earth. His priesthood takes place in the eternal kingdom and makes the eternal kingdom possible. He has an eternal priesthood. In what regard would Melchizedek's priesthood be unto forever? Well, because we know so little of him, because all we have of him is that little story with him and Abraham, when we tell the story, when we remember their interaction, we tell it like it's happening now. The story is a present story in our memories. It's not happening now. He's not blessing Abraham now. He's not being tithed to by Abraham now. But when we tell the story in our memory, in our understanding of the history of God's people, has kind of a present feel to it, right? So Melchizedek, because we know almost nothing about him, we know of him as priest of the Most High God, blessing Abraham and receiving tithes. So in that sense, his priesthood is forever, like the priesthood of Christ is forever. So when did Melchizedek become a priest of the Most High God? We don't know. Who made him a priest? We don't know. Was that priesthood up to a point in his life and then ceased prior to his death? We don't know. When was he born? We don't know. What was his father's name? We don't know. What was his mother's name? We don't know. Does he have important people in his genealogy? We don't know. The life of Melchizedek is clouded in we don't know. We only know that he was priest of the Most High God. His name means King of Righteousness. Based on where he was king, he's also King of Peace. that he blessed Abraham and received tithes on God's behalf from Abraham. That's all that we know about the guy. Does that mean he was plunked onto earth without biological parents or grandparents, etc.? There's no indication anywhere that we should take the story that way. Does that mean that he wasn't born and that he didn't die? There's no indication that we should interpret the story that way. All that we know is that we know almost nothing. And what we do know is clear and concise. Priest of the Most High God, blessed Abraham, received tithes. And in that regard, in the nebulous nature of his life story, his priesthood is like that of Christ. It's unto forever. It's eternal. Pretty interesting stuff. He's almost certainly not a man without parents. We just don't know who they were. Go back and read the Abraham story in Genesis with Melchizedek. Go back and read the fullness of Hebrews 7 and see what the writer has to say about this figure and how he serves as kind of an archetype for what Christ would do. And drink in the fame of his very brief, clouded in we don't know story. Hope that was good for you. If it was, you know what to do. And until next time, Kars Kairene Humin, grace and peace to you.